Okay, so as far as the session goes today, we have some really good stuff in the works, and really my big focus right now is on the major dollar pairs: euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, dollar Swiss franc. We'll talk a little bit about the dollar yen. Some of the others, the yen pairs, are not so fantastic, at least in my opinion, at the moment. Nice to see you, Gustavo, and good to have you with us. Um, so there's a couple of things we'll discuss in line with all of that. But for those of you that saw the daily video today on the euro dollar, we have a lot of stuff as far as news announcements go this week. Tons and tons. So we've got a little bit of news coming out of Australia, actually, the monetary meeting minutes, the policy meeting minutes. So that's anything central bank, remember, is always kind of a big deal. So we've got that. We've got the German zoo several hours later. Bernanke speaking on tomorrow. Then going into Wednesday, we have the votes for interest rates and the QE that the UK is doing. So those are two big deals. That'll happen, middle of the night. And then early in the morning, we have CPI. We have retail sales for the U.S., CPI and retail sales for the U.S. And then we have existing home sales for the U.S. And then we have FOMC meeting minutes for the U.S. So big day on Wednesday for anything dollar related. Then we have more Bank of Japan, Japanese news, a little bit of Chinese, and some central bank news out of Canada as well. So Wednesday's like central bank day. Everyone's kind of looking at that to put some clarity into the market there. And then Thursday we'll have French and German manufacturing PMIs. We'll have a little bit of Aussie news once again. We'll have some PPI for the U.S., unemployment claims for the U.S., Philly Fed manufacturing index for the U.S., and then Friday, German IFO, core CPI, core retail sales for Canada. So it's a big time for news coming up. So that's going to be all very good stuff. Okay, guys, so like I said, I'm not super interested in the yen pairs. There's a few things we will mention about the yen pairs, and there's some decent setups that need to be watched for. But I'm not super into looking for major movements on those guys just yet. I'm a lot more interested in dollar setups and in what we have going on there. So let's talk just a little bit about what that is. First off, we've got number one. We have there we go. We have the euro dollar, which is really giving us an interesting, fantastic, good setup here. I'm bearish euro dollar. I make no excuses about that. I think the euro dollar is coming back down. It's made a nice little retracement, nice little pullback. We had this big move down, and then it's retraced back up for a week and a half, and I think that bigger breakout, that bigger move down is ready to happen. We're kind of double topping at just about the high of 2 weeks ago. The high of 2 weeks ago is all the way back here at 135.45 area, but I'm actually looking more specifically at 135.40, which is the high of this week. But euro dollar's making this move down. It's been retracing up, and I think it's ready to start making that bigger move down now towards A, the missed weekly pivot, B, double bottom area, and ultimately I think the euro dollar is nicely headed into 130, that general area down there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on the euro dollar. So as far as what the setup is and how it goes, here's two things we need to be watching for. Number one, I'm short below 135.40. So you can see we're just sitting at 135.00 right here. Below 135.40, I'm short. And if we can make a nice little run down from there, then if we stay below 135.40, we should be in good shape. Stops should be at 135.50. 135.50. We've got another high back 2 weeks ago, 135.45. So if we go to a couple of pips above that, 135.50 should be a pretty good stop area. Now, what I would like to see potentially happen is a little bit of retracement. Maybe we can get 15 pips out of this, get in at 135.15, maybe even 135.20, so that we can kind of minimize that area there a little bit. But I'm going to be looking at 135.15 as my entry with stops above the high here. So we'll be looking at about 35 pip stops, and we're going to be targeting at least the weekly pivot here, which is 60 pips away, and then we'll be looking for bigger movements there as well. So If we break 135.40, if that one doesn't hold, then we're going to be looking as high as, first of all, there will be buying opportunities above 135.40. If that breaks, then this should be making a move into 136.00 most likely. And from right around there, I'll be looking once again to short between 136.00 and about 136.30 area. I'll be looking to short euro dollar. Otherwise, we're going to have some pending orders here below 135.40, just a few pips higher, with stops just above this area, targeting a bigger move down. Yes, I'm looking for the entries now. So, yep, I didn't get into anything last night or anything, so I'll be looking. I will be posting a specific entry for the euro dollar and for this bigger move coming up here. So that's kind of all there is to say about the euro dollar. Below 135.40, we're short. Above this, we can get some buying opportunities and get long into probably 136.00, but I wouldn't try to stretch it too much beyond that. And if we do get stopped out, again, we can be looking for buying opportunities at the break of 135.40, and we can also be looking for opportunities to short at a higher price. But for the moment, we're just going to put a pending order on there and let it rip. Questions, comments about that, let me know. We also have a similar setup on the pound dollar. The pound dollar has stopped at 161.50. Basically 161.50. The high here is actually about 161.48, but I'm going to say 161.50 because that's an important number and it's a good round number as well. The pound dollar has run up to this area. If it stays below 161.50, then we should have some nice continuations down. We have some big news coming up. I guess that's tonight. Is that tonight? Yeah. So we have some big-ish news coming up for the UK tonight, so I may not try to do anything with this pair just yet. We'll watch this and I'll put up the notes and so on, but I may lean a little bit more on the euro dollar. The pound dollar could make a big move, but with all that news coming, it could be a little bit unexpected and a little bit crazy. So below 161.50, we're short pound dollar. And again, currently it's only 40 pips away from that. So again, you might be able to get a little bit of a push higher before getting short on this one. Number one, targeting at the very least the weekly pivot point and 200 moving average. If you get in a little bit higher, around the 161.25 area, you should be able to see a 70 to 75 pip run down into this area. There's going to be a lot of support right there, so keep in mind that. But we've got this short-term rising wedge that it's broken out of, and it's kind of started to run out of that momentum just below that 161.50 area. So I like that. If the pound dollar breaks 161.50, then we're looking for opportunities to get short around 162.00 to 162.50, and that's where these big double tops come in, and we have that big massive descending trend line that you can see here on the monthly chart, and we're kind of bouncing off that upper level. It's really had a strong run up, and it's really starting to kind of consolidate and do a bunch of things and chop around in that area. But so far, we might be looking at that run higher, but I'm going to be a little bit extra careful with that coming news. The central bank, Bank of England tonight in the next several hours, so that could be kind of crazy, something to watch for. But be looking to be short 161.50, below 161.50, targeting weekly pivot and 200 moving average, and then ultimately we're looking for a move down through some of these lows of 158.50. But for the moment, let's look for that 161.50 to hold and opportunities to get short there. Questions, comments. So again, big focus is on euro dollar getting short against 135.40, pound dollar getting short against 161.50, Aussie dollar. We're looking at the Aussie dollar and opportunities to get short, opportunities to trade this one as well. The Aussie is definitely being brought down a little bit by gold. You can see that gold's had this big move down, and the Aussie's kind of been dragged along with it. Aussie yen, Aussie dollar, so on. But one important thing has happened on this Aussie dollar. Number one, we have a missed weekly pivot way up here that could be a potential target right now. And number two, we have crossed the 23% fib on this big move right here. So that move down from the high at 97.57, all the way down here to the low of 92.70. So we're kind of watching this area. We're seeing what this ends up doing, but we've crossed that 23. We've missed the 38. And as it pulls back, we'll be looking to get long against 92.80. If 92.80 doesn't hold, then we're going to be getting short at the break. So we're selling the break of 92.70, 92.80 if it breaks, but we're looking to really buy the dip at this point and trade this thing back up to that 38% fib, which is at 94.55 area. So we're looking for that to get hit. We do have a 200 moving average, which is running through there, and it's kind of bounced off that. So you know, no major surprise there. But we have crossed that 23% fib, and there's very high likelihood that it will continue on up to that 38 before breaking this low. So we're looking to buy the dip, buy against this 92, 70, 80 area. And if that level breaks once again, then we'll be shorting that, but for the moment we're looking to get long against this low right here. And the key thing to break here is this 94.18, this little high that we've made on that. If we break that 94.18, then we should get a pretty nice run up. Even though you can see on the 4-hour chart it's going to be coming right into that 200 moving average. I think if we break that high, this thing is taking off and going for it. Pretty good there. So we'll have a couple opportunities. Remember, buying the dip against 92.70.80, selling the break of 92.70, or if we don't get enough of a dip, buying the break of 94.18. So lots of details there. I'll make sure to post all that in the notes, so just keep that in mind, but that's what we're looking for on Aussie dollar at the moment. Yen pairs, Aussie yen's coming down, nothing calling my attention too much. Pound yen, one great thing that's happening here is we've had a pretty nice bullish movement. This thing broke that 159.30. We talked about this quite a bit, and it finally broke it, and it made a pretty nice run up, about 250 pips. Really nice move there. And now it's retraced back to the weekly pivot, so it's just touching that weekly pivot, giving us a little bit of retracement here. If we look at just this very specific range, you can see that it's kind of struggling to cross the 23% fib, so it may or may not be able to do that. If it does, of course, we're going to be looking for moves into that 38 and so on. But really what we're looking for right now is this bull flag to play out. So a nice little run up, a little bit of consolidation down, and then looking for that to break and continue higher. You can see that nicely right there. If that weekly pivot holds and everything holds, then we're going to trade this break right on up, at least back into the highs, which would be 50 to 60 pips, but ultimately we're going to be looking for some bigger moves, which we can't even hardly see on these other time frames. We have to get to like the monthly chart, but you can see that that on this big move down right here, the 38% fib, which we've crossed and we're trying to make that move into, is at 169.35 area, and we're at 160.90. So we've got a couple of hundred pips before we get down or up into that. So that's what we're looking for on the pound dollar, is to, or excuse me, the pound yen, is ultimately to make it up into that 38% fib. And so let's look for those moves to happen and those runs up to take place. So it'll start with this bear or this bull flag breakout on the 1 hour / 4 hour charts, but I think we can get our entry on the 1 hour chart if we get that break. So let's look for that on the pound dollar. Excuse me, the pound yen. Euro yen is doing something a little bit interesting here. You can see that we're coming up into some pretty important highs right here. We're sitting at 134, about 90, about 135.45 is a pretty significant level. You can see that that's kind of our major resistance until we go back here just a little bit, and now we have these highs that are around 139 and 138 and 137 and so on. But still, those are highs back there of 2009. And you can see that our resistance, major resistance, is around 135.45. So if we make a break here, we should be able to get, 200 pips of movement to the upside, a fairly easy, unobstructed 200 pips above that 135.45 area. But it has broken out of a short-term channel, and it might be looking for a bigger correction, so let's watch that and be ready for that. But really all I'd be looking for is buying the break of 135.45. The rest of these pairs are not super interesting at the moment. Dollar CAD isn't giving us too terribly much to work with, although that could be coming, but I don't see anything super great in the works there. Euro Pound, I'm just kind of watching this nice little move down, retracement back up. If we break this ascending trend line and make a move down into that 8,300 area, there could be some pips on that. So just keep an eye on that. Euro Aussie's bouncing around. The one thing I'm keeping an eye on the Euro Aussie is a break of 144.85. So it's a little ways from current market price, but not a huge amount, about 65 or so pips. So I'm going to be watching for that. And then on the rest of these pairs, Euro CAD, Pound CAD, all those, not super interested in. I am interested in the dollar Swiss franc though, and I think the dollar Swiss franc is going to make this move down into this weekly pivot right here, which is about another 50 pips or so. I think we're going to get to that weekly pivot, and that's also the 50% fib of all of this action. If we get down to that, then I'm definitely looking to get long around 90.70, 90.80 area, and I think we're going to get there, so we'll be watching for that. And that's kind of where we are and what we're looking for. We've got some really great setups, and I'm pretty excited about some of the moves we have in the coming week. Of course, we've got the FOMC meeting minutes this Wednesday, which is a big deal, and it's going to cause a lot of volatility all over the place. So that'll be something that will be live. We'll be trading that and watching for that. But let's watch these levels and be ready for this movement coming up. Remember, big focus on Euro dollar, Pound dollar, Aussie dollar, and ultimately the Pound yen for its bull flag, and the dollar Swiss franc for its buy on the dip option that we've got in the works. So loving what I see. We've got great setups coming. Make sure to make sure you're following me on Twitter, because I'll have a lot of updates coming about that. And then of course we'll be discussing trading, doing all this stuff in the live trade room every morning as well. So thanks a bunch, everybody. Best of luck. Very nice to have you on. I'm going to get this recording posted, and I will be here for the next several minutes to answer any questions, comments, anything that you all might have.